I need to tell you a story about this client after I show you this video. Okay, so this is a test. What I'm testing here are a couple of different things. I'm testing what's called innominate bone, and this in this case is left innominate bone, internal rotation, femur internal rotation, and sacral nutation.
Yep.
So this is the test. This is August 28th, 2024. Has to be totally relaxed. So he's almost passing that.
You almost got full hip extension. You're about.
So when someone doesn't get a full hip extension, that means their sacrum can't nutate.
Okay.
So what will happen is I'll bring that, like, notice where the knee in relationship to the hip joint is. The knee in this case is just going like maybe 5 degrees past the hip joint. So that's his sacrum is starting to nutate. But if his knee was not getting to a neutral position, that means that his pelvis, he would feel his pelvis anteriorly tilt.
Because nutation has to do with the axes and movement around the axes.
Exactly.
Okay.
3 degrees off. And it's
and so when I go down, we should get internal rotation of the femur as it drops down, but his leg can only go down so far.
Okay.
And by the way, this guy couldn't even get an inch down without his knee going forward because he had so little internal rotation. This before we even, and this is, so he's made huge progress just from what we worked on.
Forward on the, it's pulling your knee forward as I try to go down. So it's lacking that internal rotation, which we already saw. It'll look better, but I didn't want to say anything.
Yeah.
So I was trying not to say anything because I already in the tests, he was already yielding to different results. Watch this.
See if we can get that, let that go.
And what are you doing with your right arm? Like your whole.
Right there a little bit.
I'm
Still
my right hand looks like it's putting pressure, but it's just sitting on there. It's listening to what's going on in his pelvis. I want to be able to feel at any moment his pelvis going into anterior tilt.
Okay.
Yeah.
So look how far his knee is back, and look, boom, all the way to the floor.
Last time it went down and forward.
Yes, that's right.
And this is only 2 days later. This is on August 30th. Okay, so can you guess? And I didn't do anything. There was nothing that I did or the homework that I gave him that caused this. He went and got a tongue tie release.
No.
Yep.
That makes complete sense to me.
Okay, so now why would a tongue tie release change that? Basically, in a very basic way, go ahead, what were you going to say?
Way down the front of the spine.
Bingo. So the whole 4th hour line. And if you want to talk about anatomy trains, right, it's the deep front line. Or if we talk about an embryological development, which the two tubes that form first is the neural tube and the visceral tube. So our legs grow out of the neural and the visceral tubes, right, and our arms grow out of them. But that whole connective tissue matrix from the visceral cranium through all the way down was so restricted that when he released the tongue tie, it completely released his pelvis and his nutation in his pelvis and his internal rotation of his femur.
And you still got a little change in that first session without the tongue tie release.
Oh, absolutely. When we started doing, the reason why we started, like when I got to like 7th hour tie, and I didn't go in a series of 1 through 10 kind of thing. I did a bunch of work around other areas, and then we finally got to the head and the neck because we weren't getting much movement through his head and his neck. I started doing 7th hour stuff, multiple days in a row. And we started getting shifts in his neck and shifts in his sacrum and all that stuff. Then he signed up for a bunch of myofunctional work, doing mouth exercises and stuff, and it radically changed his neck and his head, and along with the cranial work that I was doing. And I said, you're, I think, a candidate for tongue tie. Wow. I did the test, the test, roof of the mouth, all that stuff, and he did not pass. So I sent him he found a guy in LA, like the top guy in the United States. And we waited, we did the exercises, we did all the stuff. And then finally he went down tongue tie, and that's what